Aloha offline sharks! Welcome to the Friday Aloha Marketing Jam Session. I'm Tom Gaddis coming to you from sunny but slightly chilly Las Vegas. Nick Ponte on the call coming to you from the jumping city of Austin, Texas. Nice
Howdy. What's that?
It's a nice looking room you're in there.
Oh, thank you.
Is that a virtual background or is that the room you're really in?
This is the room I'm really in.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah. You thought this was a virtual background?
I don't believe it. Go jump on the bed.
Yeah, they do have some good virtual backgrounds these days, I guess, huh?
I know, yeah, they do. Well, you looked very contrast, but the thing, and I started to think, wait, does he just have some screen up there? But he doesn't. He doesn't.
No.
Awesome. Welcome to the show. We have a great show lined up for you guys today. We're going to be talking about how to pre-qualify prospects and how important that is to the process. We're going to take your questions. We may talk a little bit about the training we had on Wednesday. That was on Wednesday, right? We're just going to have an all-around good local marketing time today. So tell you what, I'm going to cue up the intro and we'll see you back here in just a few momentos.
Ready for the fastest 60 minutes of strategies and tactics to build your remote business from anywhere in the world? It's now time. The moment you've been waiting for. After 167 agonizing hours, they've returned. Now, back for a brand new Sharks Live show. It's your hosts, the Offline Sharks, Tom Gaddis and Nick Ponte.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Awesome.
You forgot your sound effects.
I turned it on. Did you not hear it?
Nope.
You don't hear it?
Mm-mm.
What the heck?
Yeah, you're gonna have to tell all your friends to, step it up a notch.
Yeah, I wonder if they changed. Something. I don't know if you noticed, but in the dashboard, there's now there's background music.
Oh yeah.
And so like I used to just be able to, I would just hit the button. Oh wait, you know what? I bet I know what it is. Hold on. Do you hear it now?
Nope. No, sir. No, sir.
Really? What about now?
Nope.
Man, they must have changed something because now?
Nope.
I'm not going to keep doing this. Yeah, because this should be like, that should have been the button right there. That's so, yeah, they must have, maybe they changed something.
The gremlins, everyone. The gremlins.
The gremlins technology, isn't it great? What's up, Cameron Katz? Marvin says it's a beautiful day in New Jersey. April, welcome. And yes, before you ask, we can see your name, April. We can see your name, so you're good. Richard, what's up, Richard?
Hey, Richard.
Cameron said his froze. Hey, everyone, welcome. Who else is in here? Suzette. I see Patty. Welcome.
I'm excited for this topic today, Tom.
Good, because I'm pretty much going to tune out and just let you handle it.
Okay, perfect. I mean, it is such an important thing, though, you know?
You know what? It is to, oh, look, we both have boring shirts. Yep.
Sorry,
it is an important topic. And, I think it's something that a lot of people overlook. And it's actually something, I was just recording some videos this week for our new product launch coming up on March 4th. And, again, I found myself, like, we've been talking about this in just about every course and software that we've put out for a long time. We always talk about how, it's not quantity, it's about quality, right? And when we say it's not quantity, it's about quality, that's what we're talking about. Like, we're talking about reaching out, not just to, like, there's no point in just trying to to just reach out to a bunch of people, just random people, right? Like, you want to reach out to people that either have a problem that you can help them solve or something that you've identified that makes it more likely that you'll be able to work with them, right? And if you look at all of the things that we put out in terms of like, especially the ones that are client getting type courses and softwares, they're all based around this idea, right? Like, how can we find somebody who's qualified for us to help, right? Like with SSL Sniper, we use websites that don't have SSL certificates because we figure they may be good targets for SEO, right? With Soci Spy, you can find people who aren't posting on their Facebook pages. With Speed Sniffer, you can identify websites that load slow. So again, we're trying to get a jump on that pre-qualification process, right? Like finding people that have a need, a pain point that we can help address. And then we carry that even further when you look at things like, our discovery forms for our agency that we do with Local Fee Finder, where we're asking them more questions and pre-qualifying them even more, even before we get on an initial call with them or our first call with them. And then, of course, those calls are all, that's what we're doing on those calls too. Like trying to identify, like, what do they need help with? And is that something we can help them with? And, there's a big difference when you kind of shift your thinking to that. Like, instead of thinking like, oh, just everybody that I talk to is going to be a client. Like, no, like when you start shifting and thinking like, okay, do they have something I can help them with? And how do I identify those people that I can help the most? It really does start to kind of change what your results, right? And you just have better conversations, I think, with people.
Yeah, it also makes you at least for me, it makes me feel so much more pressure when I'm talking to the customer. If I'm really, of course, I always want to get every sale that I possibly can, of course. But, putting a number on a deal before you talk to somebody, like I have this client or this person that might be interested, and putting a number on it can be good for a more, seasoned, experienced salesperson or somebody that's got a few under their belt. But if you're newer and you've read somewhere that you need to be selling a website for, $7,000 and you have yet to do that, you've yet to sell a website for $1,000, it can cause a lot of pressure when you're talking to that customer or that would-be customer, and I feel like, Tom, for you and I, sometimes when we're talking about this stuff, like to each other, we skip steps in our mind because we have tools and solutions for things that used to be problems for us. And the whole discussion of pre-qualifying your clients, like the problem that we were having, if we backtrack a little bit, and I'm sure some people, maybe you can let me know in the chat if you can relate to this, but not knowing if who you're talking to actually has some sort of a marketing budget, or not knowing it could even just be the most basic of details. You need to have a little bit of information on who you're prospecting with. Even if you get a referral from somebody, well, if you just had a little bit of info, what's their website? What are they selling? Maybe some of their competitors, maybe how many sales they're doing a month. If you just have some of that basic information, you have so much more ammo in your sales calls and your sales discussions, and so much more to talk about and so much more to go off of, rather than just like getting on the phone or getting in person and trying to like pull at threads that can make for a uncomfortable, not very successful sales discussion. So it is helpful in a lot of ways. And we don't even think about how much we used to go through that. Do you remember that?
I do. And look, I mean, the bare minimum pre-qualification for me has always been, and I was doing this from the very get-go, because I was like, when I heard it, I was like, oh yeah, that makes total sense. Like, I never talk to someone that I don't know is already spending money on advertising, right? Like, like that was my first, like, that was the way I pre-qualified everybody in the beginning, was when I was looking to build a list of potential people to reach out to. That's always what I was looking for, was, are they spending money on advertising? So that led me to pay a lot of attention to, the printed publications that were around in my area, listening to who was advertising on the radio, paying attention to people advertising on television, seeing who was hanging their stuff up inside like the UPS store in the places that have the cork boards where people can advertise their businesses. Like even just looking there, because even though I didn't know if those people were spending money on advertising, I at least realized that they knew they needed to get the word out about their business, right? Like they'd taken a step, things like that. Like, and I think at a bare minimum, like that's one thing you should be doing. If you can find somebody that's, that has a budget, that, spending money and has a problem you can fix, then you're really golden, right? But the next step of that is, looking for, people call it the pain point, right? Like, oh, if we can find a pain point and then we have a solution to that, that's one way, right? But when you start thinking at a higher level of like marketing, right? Then the other way to do that is to like, when you think about things like lead magnets, foot in the door offers, all of that stuff, like what are those things really? Those things are really a pre-qualification, right? When people talk about, oh, you put out a lead magnet because that makes people raise their hand. Well, they're raising their hand because they're pre-qualifying themselves for the thing that you're looking to offer, right? So there's lots of ways to do it, both active and passive, right? Like you can look and see if they have the problem you want, or you can put something out that causes the people that you're looking to attract to come to you, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. How many of you here are doing pre-qualifying in any capacity? Like you're just gathering some sort of information that is a precursor or a way to front run an incoming lead or deal, whether that's off your website or maybe it's a process that you have through everything. Maybe it could be, even if you get a referral, you run them through the same process. I know that for us, we always run all of our leads through the same pre-qualification process. It doesn't matter where they come from. Some people do it differently depending on where they come from. But yeah, I mean, the biggest benefit is it helps your conversions. If you can, I mean, man, Tom, how much do you think our conversions improved when we started pre-qualifying?
Well, it's huge. I mean, it definitely, it drastically
Exponential.
increases your chances of having success, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and when you can, and on another level too, like your conversions improve when you start doing more of the pre-qualifying, but you're also just the quality of your interactions with your clients improves, right? Because how many times are you like as you get better at identifying things and it not just about pre-qualifying, like if they can use your help, but pre-qualifying them if they're going to be a jerk or a good client, right? Like that's the next step, right? Like pretty soon you're like, oh, okay, I have this service. We sell a lot of it. We're good at what we do. You have the confidence, right? Now, when somebody comes to you, you're not so much like, oh God, I really hope this person works with me. You're more like, hey, is this person going to make my life easier? Or are they just going to be a thorn in my side, right? Like you're pre-qualifying in kind of a different, at a different level, just because you're operating at a different level, right? Now, it's hard to do that in the very beginning, and that's okay. Like in the beginning, sometimes you just have to, you have to do what you need to do to bring in some money, get some cash flow, and then you learn as you go, right?
Here's a good question that Jacqueline had. Let me see if I can grab it here. She said, "Is there?" Do you see all those messages coming in without any messages?
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is with that.
Are we getting DDoSed? Is Dorn hacking us right now?
Dorn, are you hacking us right now?
Dorn, put down the terminal shell. So Jacqueline says that she's asking a question here. It says, "Is there a way of pre-qualifying against micromanagers?" I would venture to say there's a way of pre-qualifying for anything. You can do a lot, Jacqueline, in the pre-qualification for clients. For us, you're familiar with it, right? Our discovery form. You can add or remove any questions that you want, and if I recommend this with everything that you're doing in your business, as you find these little areas of friction, with different types of clients, with different services, with your processes, different friction points, you always work to streamline those friction points. So if you find that you do not do well in an environment where people are micromanaging you, well, then figure out a way to add a pre-qualification against micromanagers. And one way that you can maybe do that is maybe you ask them to fill out a Myers-Briggs personality test before in your pre-qualification, in your discovery. Another thing you can do is change the wording of your pre-qualification from a do you want to work with us to why should we work with you? Tell us why you think you would be a good fit for our agency. And asking those types of questions might trigger different types of responses. And you might be able to weed out people that have some weird responses that might potentially throw up some red flags in terms of being a micromanager. And you can get crazy with it, right? You can make people, if you want to, jump through all sorts of hoops to be your clients, or maybe even to work with you. You might have some people that you're trying to hire in your agency that you don't want to be micromanagers. Same thing. Now the only caveat to that is that the more hoops you make people jump through, the less likely you are to actually have them go through that. You definitely don't want to have too many, right? You don't want them to be having to go through all kinds of stuff. So you definitely want to be picky and choosy on that.
Well, and that's why most people adjust that stuff over time, right? Because it's hard to be picky and choosy when you're trying to pay the rent.
Yeah, that's a good point too.
Just, that's just the reality. Like, that's just the reality. Hard to be picky and choosy. I know some people do that. That wasn't my experience because I didn't really go about starting a business the right way. Like, I should have had it. Like, if you do things the right way, right, and you have some savings and you have enough money set aside to cover your bills while you're trying to get this thing off the ground, like, you can be a little more picky. You can be picky and choosy, right? I couldn't do that. But it caused me to, like, I learned a lot of lessons the hard way, right? And had to deal with a lot more stress because I was like, oh, I needed to take that client, right? And you can avoid that if you don't. But, as you keep moving forward and you get more clients and your revenue goes up and you start to get a little more stable, then you can start to implement those things for yourself.
Yeah. And, I would say that the culture fit is usually one of the better things that you could pre-qualify for. Now, obviously, if you can pre-qualify somebody that, has some sort of a budget that can actually afford your services, then that's going to be a big one too. I'd say those are the two biggest things for me personally, is finding out if, we're a good fit to work together, meaning culture fit. The micromanagement, that's an element of not being a good culture fit, Jacqueline. So, for us in our agency, we don't like to meet people in person, right? We don't like to meet people, have to have Zoom conversations with them all the time, right? The culture in our business is we collect all the information from you in the beginning so that we can do our jobs. And then you let us do our jobs and then leave us alone, right? At the end of the month, we'll tell you how well we're doing our job, and we'll be doing it so well that you don't need to bother us. That's like the ideal situation. And, when you bring on a new client and they send you 37 text messages and 15 emails within the first 48 hours, well, they've pretty much identified themselves as being not the greatest culture fit. I usually back out of those deals as quickly as possible. That's just me, because it costs me time and attention, and that mental headspace. Tom and I go through this all the time. It's not worth it, for us. But, depending on where you're at, it might be a little worth it. You might have to have a little more sacrifice in the beginning, depending on where you're at. We sacrificed a lot in the beginning. We worked with a lot of people that weren't the easiest to work with, but that was because
we even designed specific things so we could work with people that had less money, right? Like, that's, when you think about it, that's kind of crazy. Like, we developed some things we offered because we came in contact with so many people that didn't have the budgets to do what we wanted to do, but they could spend a few $100s, right? So we specifically developed things just to work with those people. We don't really do that as much anymore, but it was effective at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was something you said there, Nick, about like, the budget and the pricing, and that's something that I think is worth exploring a little more in depth as well too, because I was always, especially early on, very afraid to talk about money, right? Like I would talk about everything else but the money, because I always felt like, oh, once we start talking about the money, that's when it's going to fall through, right?
That's when all the
Yeah,
Yeah.
all the stuff comes up. You're like, oh boy, I don't want to. It's almost like you want to be like, everything sounds great, and the price is $225, right?
Yeah.
And then they're like,
Yeah.
oh,
And
good, I pay it.
I actually wrote the price down right here for you if you want to.
Yeah. So, but there are a couple of things that I would just say to people out there. A business mentor of mine a long time ago told me, you always talk money first, never talk money last. I, of course, ignored that advice and paid the price. But what I have discovered now, especially dealing with people that are, kind of operate at higher levels and things like that, is that the reality is amateurs don't talk about money. Professionals always talk about the money up front, because it's such it's not about getting the most, it's about delivering the most effective form of service, right? Like I know a lot of people think like, oh, well, you ask me your budget and you tell me that I tell you the budget and you're just going to charge me what the budget is. Like, well, that's not entirely accurate, right? Like the reason we ask the budget is so we know what to recommend, like what to do, right? Like if you tell me your budget for this is $8,000, like I'm going to recommend a package and things that are within that budget, right? Of course, I may come back to you and say, look, you can't do what you want to do for $8,000. It's impossible. But think about all the things you go to buy, like, and you need to know the budget first. Like if you're going to go buy a house, well, what's your budget, right? Because the agent doesn't want to go show you a bunch of houses that you can't afford to buy. He's only going to show you houses that are in your budget, right? If you're going to go buy a car, you don't just start out and be like, oh, let's go to the Mercedes dealership and have them show us the most expensive. Like that guy's going to be like, well, like, can you even afford this car? Right? Like you're going to go look at cars you can afford. Like one, it's for your sanity, but also for the person helping you, it's their sanity too. There's nothing more frustrating than getting down to the point. It's like, oh, well, I couldn't afford this car anyway. Well, like, why'd you spend all this time with me? It's the same thing with services and helping people. And those are ways that I kind of explain it to clients. Like, look, the reason I'm asking you about your budget is because it doesn't do either of us any good for me to make recommendations that you can't afford, right? Or that you're not in a position to do. And we can do different things if your budget's $10,000 than we can if your budget's $2,000. I mean, we can still help you. Like there's still things we can do that are effective, but they're different, right? And maybe what you want to do doesn't fall in that range. So that's why we need to know so that we're on the right path, right? Like, so we're on the right path.
That's a really great tip to share with everybody. And I hope you all got a good takeaway there, because I can't tell you how many times that I've used that line or a variation of it when talking to prospects. So if you haven't already written that one down, or you're not already familiar with it, some of you have probably, let me know if you've heard either Tom or me say that in a sales call case study somewhere. Maybe you're a Shark Alliance member, maybe you're Remote Millionaires. You've heard some of our case study calls with people that we've sold. We say that a lot. And so here, let me repeat it back so that anybody who didn't really catch it can get a good understanding of it and use it. Because like I said, this is something I've used and Tom has used over and over and over again. And so, basically the question comes up whenever you're talking with a prospect and you don't really know what to pitch them at. Wouldn't you say that that's a good time to raise that question, Tom? When you don't really know what, like, your standard pricing isn't going to be a good fit?
Yeah, I mean, well, when you're finding out about their project, right? Like, when you start asking about their problems, like, what are they trying to do? Like, maybe they want to be on the first page of Google, right?
Right.
Yeah, okay, we know what the problem is. Now we need to know, like, well, what's your budget for this?
Yeah, and what I'm trying to get at is, like, so this isn't something that you lead with, right? This is something that you have as you go further down the call. You're starting to talk to them, you're hearing what they're doing, you're hearing some maybe sensitivity in terms of pricing and budget. Maybe they're telling you some things about their business that might sound like they are newer or they aren't in the best position to be marketing, but you do have some solutions that can help them, right? So what we say is, you say this in an authentic sort of way. It's really important. It's well, what's your budget for this project? And then you immediately have to tell them, and I'm asking you that to not just charge you for your entire budget, like Tom said. It's so that we can figure out how much you have to invest in this, and we can get you the best product, the best possible outcome for what you actually can afford right now. Because we have things that we can do that are very pricey and very aggressive, but we also have things that we can do that are less aggressive and fall more in lines with somebody that doesn't have as much capital to start with. So it's really a matter of figuring out where you fall on that. And so, yeah, gathering that information would really help us out. And it kind of like, when you say it like that, people, they'll tell you, like, well, I really only have this much, and there you go. You have a number to work off of.
Yeah. Jacqueline said, she says it's difficult for me to talk money when I'm getting better. And I mean, I don't know. Maybe maybe you and I are just the only two, but I think
we're soft. We're soft.
I think it's difficult for most people to talk money. Like, but like what Jacqueline's comment there, what it points out, which I think is really good, is that there's really no way to get over that except by doing it. Yeah. Like, you just have to. And a lot of us, a lot of us, it's not our fault that we're not comfortable talking about money, because the people around us in our life were not comfortable talking about money, right? I mean,
really good. Many, really good point.
For me, like, my family did not have good. They did not have good money habits. Like, they weren't money savvy. They weren't, they weren't in it. Just, they weren't. So, like, I had no way to know any of that stuff. And coming from a place where I didn't have a lot of money and all that stuff. So it is something you just have to get used to, and you just have to do, and you get better and better at it. Right.
It's true. It's true. And, a great example of this is even for myself. Like, in the last, couple of days, I have made the decision to make a more, I've just put myself in the sales department a little more lately. Right. And it's not my skill set. It's not something I particularly enjoy doing, but I do see that there's a need for that in my business, right? Like, I have some things that I'm selling them in a way that might be a little different than before. Well, who needs to be the person to go out there and kick that around and see how it is that it can actually be sold, or best it can be sold? Well, it's going to be me, and again, I'm doing it because I know that it's necessary, but at the same time, I like to trick myself in those situations to have some sort of a challenge, like, I'm going to get good at this, even though I don't really like it. I kind of suck at it, but I'm going to get good at it because I know that it's necessary, and it's uncomfortable. You're going to fail. I fail all the time. But you get better and better and better. And I think the best thing that you can do, like Tom said, I would 100% agree, is you just got to go out there and keep trying. And, there's a lot of ways to deflate the pressure behind it, because at the end of the day, the worst thing that could ever happen is you're going to get a no. And, man, you're going to hang up the phone, and guess what? Or leave the business or get an email response, and nothing's going to change in your life, right? You're not going to be shamed. You're not going to be, nothing's going to change.
It won't kill you.
We put all this pressure on ourselves for no reason.
Yeah. Well, there's some things that I have tried over the years to get more comfortable in talking about money, and they're going to sound really dopey probably to you guys, but like, you may want to try them. One thing you can do these are just little exercises you can do to just break out of your thoughts about money, right? So one thing you can do is, the next time you go to the grocery store, or you go to like a flea market or someplace like that, when you go up to a vendor and you find something you want to buy, you offer to pay them more than it's worth, like $1 more. Like, I see this as $5. I'd like to pay you $7 for it. Are you okay with that? Like, it just like, it sounds so crazy, but you're like, you're trying to break your subconscious out of the fact that the price is the price, right? The price is not the price. And when you're haggling, it doesn't always, or I say haggling, when you're negotiating price, it doesn't always mean going down, right? So you can do that. Like, that's one way, right? Like, you just offer to pay them more. Another way is to go to some place where you think the price is like set in stone and to offer them less. Like, well, like, I see this as $5. Can I give you $4.50? Right? Like, just to get used to doing that, right? Like, and sometimes, because I know for me, like, I always thought the price is the price is the price is the price, right? Like, who would, but then I have friends that, man, anything, you're like, oh, it's $400. You're like, I'll give you $350. Like, it's the price is never the price for them. They're the total opposite.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny when you run into actual like business, because a lot of business owners are that way because they're they're scrappy, right? They like to hustle.
Yeah.
They like to get a good deal. Like, that's that's the way building a business is. You're trying to get the most possible value for the least possible price, whether it's in effort or physical product or whatever it is. So yeah, it's funny when you come across like a business owner that you're pitching and they do that. I have one in mind, Tom, that you and I went and had an in-person meeting with together. That was like that we had to do that with that car rental company and the real estate company. We went to their boardroom up in Kihei. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That was pretty funny.
But yeah, just trying to find some way to get comfortable with, how you talk about money in a relationship with money. The nice thing about doing the things like I talked about is it's not in a business setting. So you can just, like, if somebody says no, like, what is it? What do you care? Right? Like, what do you care? Also, the other thing too, another thing that I've tried before too is, and this can help you get more confident in the value of your time, is I get a lot of people that call me and ask me questions or want me to help them do something. And one thing you can do is to just start asking those people to give you a couple bucks, like, to get over that fear of asking for money, right? Like, they're like, oh, hey, can you drive, do whatever, right? Give me a ride or whatever. You're like, yeah, I tell you what, I'll do it. Just give me $2. Like, it's just to try to break your It's not about the amount of money and all that stuff. You're really just trying to break your subconscious out of the way it thinks about things,
Look, Cameron has a good little tip here. He said, becoming a generous tipper has helped me with money mindset. Doesn't cost a ton, and you get frequent opportunities to do it.
That's a really good one. Yeah, another one I did too for a long time was every time. This was more to get my mind over scarcity, right? Like, because when you're trying to start a business and you're trying to make money to pay the bills and all that, it can be very easy. You don't even realize how much you start thinking about how scarce things are. So to kind of break out of that scarcity mindset, one thing I would do is whenever I'd go to the grocery store and on the little keypad, it always pops up like, would you like to donate to whatever it is? I just said, every time that pops up, I'm going to donate at least $1. And I would just do it every time I go to the store, no matter what, without thinking, just to try to break my subconscious into knowing that, like, giving this $1 is not going to make or break me. Giving these dollars, like, there's plenty of money still at the end of the day. What's really weird is usually I would do that. I started doing that for a while, and then like things would start to fall in my lap, and then I would change it to where I always donated $5 and then $10. And it just like, it's this thing of, I don't know, for me, it's like the tipping thing. And tipping well is another thing I do, because it's just like, I think for money to come to you, you have to send it out there. It's money is active, right? It looks for active places, but maybe that's getting a little woo-woo-y.
No, I think it's true. I do. I mean, at least I agree with that. Maybe for some people it's woo-woo-y, but yeah, I think it is. It's definitely true.
Yeah. Go look up on our recommended books list. There's a couple of books on there that are that are pretty good. I think if you go to offlinesharks.com/books, you'll see some on there. I know this is one of Cameron's favorites, and it's my favorite too. It's called "The Trick to Money is Having Some." That's a great one. And I think I also have on there Joe Vitale's "Money Loves Speed." That's another pretty good one. And there's some Napoleon Hill ones that are good. Hey, real quick, before we get too deep into this, because I want to talk a little bit about our training we had on Wednesday and let people know where they can go to watch that, because we had an awesome training with the Belldozer, Jason Bell. It was fantastic. It was great. But before we do that, I want to get to our shout outs, because we have some we have a lot of shark shout outs today. So I want to do that. Since we're talking about attracting money, this is another good way to get you fired up and get your juices flowing forward, to see what other people are doing and what they got going on. So let me share my screen here. Here we go. Okay. So we got some good shark shout outs, and I don't have applause apparently anymore until I figure that out. So we'll see how that goes. But our first shark shout out goes to Cody Weaver. Cody closed a local storage unit for listing management, Google business profile update, and pay-per-click ads at $625 a month plus a $250 setup. He did a $55 an hour deal to update a real estate coach's website. He sold a hunting website, $1750 plus $35 a month for embedding calendar with payment acceptance. That's pretty cool. I'm interested in that. I wouldn't have thought of the hunting niche, but the other day I had to take my oldest daughter down to the archery store because she's doing she's joining the archery club at her high school. So there's a niche. Look, you can find niches everywhere, right? Especially when you have kids.
That's pretty cool. There's no archery school in Hawaii, I don't think.
No. Well, the lady when Nick comes here, they said you can do archery tag, where they put all this stuff in a room and then just give you bows and arrows, and you go in there and shoot each other, like laser tag, but with bows and arrows. But the arrows
have to do that
on the end. She said they have padding, but it still hurts. I was like, oh my God.
I call that stress reduction.
Yeah. We showed to the live. I have like a patch over my eye where my eye put out. Yeah. Anyway, and a hunting website. He also did a Facebook and geofencing ads and retargeting for $1,000 a month to a sushi restaurant. Nice. So excellent work, Cody. I mean, that's a ton. That's a lot. That's a very productive week. So way to go, Cody. Way to go. You will also might notice something kind of new on our shark shout outs, that some of our shout outs have the Remote Millionaires thing above them, right? That's a lot of them. You guys know that's one of the programs that we run, and a lot of these people on today's shout outs are in there, and we're sharing what they're doing. So let's see. Antonio Castillo, he closed 2 new businesses this week, $300 a month plus $500 a month. Way to go, Antonio. JT Trusdall, he picked up another reputation client using Rep Kahuna for $500. Our friend Jocelyn Wing, she did social media, Google business profile, content and curation and posting, $2,000 plus $450 ad cost, sold to a past client who fired her 3 years ago. So reactivating that past client. Jocelyn's one of our Remote Millionaires members. Norm also these next 3 are all people in our Remote Millionaires program. Norm Thomas, he picked up a $1,200 a month SEO client. They might also be needing help with social media and Google business profile. And I was just talking to Norm yesterday on our Remote Millionaires coaching call, and he's been doing the same thing that you've been doing, Nick, which is getting on the phone, doing more calling, talking to clients to break himself out of that. So it's been going really well. Marlene Thomas, she secured a website sale to a local herbal store for $350. And Bill Stanley had 3 new sales this week, $1,000, $1,700, and $2,400 for project management for detailing construction documents for fabrication companies, which is a skill set that Bill has. So, man, all fantastic wins. Congratulations. If you guys could do us a favor too and go to this post in the Facebook group, you can find it at offlinesharks.com/shoutouts. Leave a heck yeah, way to go, good job. Here at the end of the stream, we'll give away some Cash App money.
Wow. It's a nice lineup of shout outs. Good work, everybody.
Yeah, it's really good. Sean did a great job with that graphic too. It looks awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, so one other thing I want to talk about too, because this past Wednesday, like I said, we did a training with Jason Bell, and Jason had his software stuff is so amazing, right? And one of the things Jason has is these little campaigns he brings into businesses where they do like these birthday that you basically run these birthday what would you call them? Birthday outreach campaigns, right?
Birthday marketing campaigns.
Yeah. So like, a business, every time a customer of theirs has a birthday, there's, you can send them a special thing, and there's some special ad stuff. Anyway, it's really, really, it's really good, right? Because you can celebrate anniversaries and things like that. And it's a way for them. It's like a club, right? Like you're able to let them build up this birthday club where you help them build a list because people enter their birthdays, all that stuff. You can also like market to people with birthdays through Facebook ads, things like that. Anyway, it's really great training. Jason kind of goes through the whole system and everything, and he uses email and SMS, and he's got we were talking about pre-qualifying. He's got like goes over some ways that he sets his website up where he kind of walks them through the process, and it pre-qualifies them on whether they're a good fit or not, all that kind of stuff. Really great training though. And if you're not familiar with this is really one of the reasons we brought Jason to do this is because one, Jason does this every single day in his agency, right? Like he's built a huge agency on this. Number two is he has a lot of clients that he's had for years and years and years. Like this is a really evergreen type service and offer. It's not going anywhere, right? It's not a fad. It's not a trend. Like it's really amazing. So the training was really awesome. Jason did a fantastic job. I don't know. Was anybody here on the training? What'd you guys think of it? Yeah.
I really like how you can
Facebook things.
I really like how you can take advantage of a good, unique opportunity with that. Like I feel like there's some features with some of these platforms that we're all familiar with: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, all that. Every once in a while there will be like a change, an update, and there'll be some type of functionality that will create the perfect marketing mechanism, and Jason really took advantage of that. He really capitalized on that, and put what he's doing in a position where I think with marketing in general, people always look for reasons to do something special, right? Valentine's Day, we have a special for Valentine's Day. We have a special for Christmas and Thanksgiving, and people say, Black Friday, and you come up with your own holiday, right? Happy Wednesday. Who cares? We're going to do this special offer because it's Wednesday. So whenever you have a special, situation that you can market for, and there's targeting that can be done on a platform, which makes it very easy at scale. I mean, that's what I would call an edge.
Yeah. I mean, what's really great about it is your ability to build a list for your potential clients, right? Like you're building them a list, and then you're showing them how to reach out to that list, how to market, how to do things to that list. It's really good. I'm going to put the link so you guys can watch. Don't go there yet, because you want to have some time to focus on it, but I'm going to put the link in here. And the main reason I bring this up is because Jason, he demos his software on there, but he did something for our sharks that was like really like above and beyond. Like just watch the training, check out what Jason has to say at the end. I mean, it was pretty, it's pretty amazing. So anyway, it's a really great deal, but it's going to be coming down here soon. So make sure after this live's over, if you haven't watched it, go check it out. You'll get some good ideas from it, whether you use Jason's software or not. But great training.
I also think that this is a exceptionally good use case for people that are in like smaller towns, businesses that are in smaller towns that are trying to, I don't know, just maximize what they're doing, because the list building for a smaller business is crucial, especially today. You know, it really is. If a small business has, and we learned this in COVID too, right? People that weren't building a customer base or a list of businesses that they could talk to during COVID were screwed, right? But the
Yeah.
businesses that had an email list, or, you know, they had ways to let people know what was going on, or, you know, the way that they were to pivot or transition, and, you know, those businesses really, they did all right. A lot of them did well. And yeah, so I think, you know, in these smaller areas, this works exceptionally well as well.
Yeah. Awesome. We're going to take some questions here. So if you guys have some questions about anything, pop them in while you are loading those questions up. I do want to do one more thing. We want to acknowledge our member of the week. So every week we pick somebody out of our community that's just a good steward, right? That helps out, that's active in the Facebook group, that's getting results. And we celebrate them as member of the week. We send them some Shark Special Treasure swag. It's pretty awesome. So this week's member of the week, let me get my, Nick, can you do a drum roll there? Drum roll is Mr. Bill Stanley.
Bill.
So Bill Stanley, for his trifecta win with bringing in 3 new projects. Congratulations, Bill. Awesome. Great to see you getting some traction there and seeing what you're doing. Somebody from our team is going to reach out to you so we can get the Offline Shark swag box sent to you. But way to go, Bill. Awesome work.
Heck yeah. I'm wishing Bill a congrats right now.
Yeah. It's really awesome. Cool. All right. What questions do we have? Let's take some questions and then we'll give away some cash app.
Did you see Norm also said that he is closing a 5K website today?
I did see that.
Congrats, Norm. Nicely done. Wonder what industry it's in.
John said they did a Moonlight Madness sale for a golf shop. They did $18,000 in 3 hours.
What?
That's awesome.
That's a hefty haul there.
Yeah. Let's see, what questions do we have? Oh my gosh, I'm gonna yawn. Sorry, guys. I don't know why I did that. I was like, whoo! I couldn't stop it. Ecom Street Art. Awesome.
Jacqueline says.
Jacqueline. So Jason kind of covered this on the training, but he showed how you can do it with a lot of different types of businesses, not just restaurants. It works well with restaurants, but you can do it for a lot of other businesses too. I was not up late playing poker. I wish I'd been up late playing poker, but I am headed down to the casino tonight because my wife and I are celebrating Valentine's Day, and we're going to see Andrea Bocelli in concert at the MGM Grand.
Wow, that will be nice. Listen,
yeah,
wow,
it should be fun.
Very romantic.
Yes, and tell her to keep her hands off me. Hey, listen, woman. I'm a respected business person.
That's fine.
Anyway, let's say I don't see any. Yeah, the Moonlight Mass. That's an awesome idea. I don't see any other questions come in. Let's do this. Why don't we let me find the thing. Let's do.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, money, money.
Dollar, dollar. Dollar, dollar. Ching, ching, bling, bling, got the chatter. You ain't talking money, then you're talking no matter.
Talking no matter, Nick.
I heard you laughing. I heard you laughing in the background that time.
It mutes my mic. It is not me laughing. Yeah, let's give away some Cash App money. Who's our lucky winner?
All right, we're gonna do a question today, and then we're gonna do also the picking people at random that congratulated our shout out. So, the question I have for everybody, first person that gets this correct in the chat box wins some Cash App money. So, what is the number one issue that online based or digital agency type businesses have? What's the biggest problem that most digital agency owners have?
What's the biggest problem?
Yeah.
I
feel like that's a pretty easy question.
Okay.
I see some answers coming in. Building, and you know what? This is interesting because I guess by asking this question, I know the response based off of my perspective because Tom and I speak with a lot of business owners and a lot of agency owners. But looking at everybody's comments coming in, it's almost it's more individual, right? Like everybody just put their biggest pain point in of what they're experiencing in their agency, right? Jacqueline's talking about new clients. Michelle's talking about pre-qualifying clients. Janice is talking about confidence.
Getting
Cass says
leads.
Michael Howard says finding leads. Richard says making a sale, all caps lock. I can see Richard slamming his drink down, making sales. But that's interesting, you know. Patty says procrastination. How many of you agree with what I'm saying? Is your response based off of what you think is in the industry, or is it based off of what you are feeling in your agency right now? I didn't really think that would happen, but I suspect that kind of is what happened. Clark says getting past the gatekeeper. Well, I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, Tom and I speak to thousands of agency owners on, through your support questions, right? We got support desk, we got instant messenger DMs that come in all the time, phone calls. We get on the phone with a lot of you, coaching, private members area, all those things. The number one thing that we see the most is people wanting more clients, needing help getting more clients. So I don't know who got that first.
Here, let's look. Oh, I can look up through our system here.
Yeah, see, people are saying it themselves, both. It's true. It's about our problems.
Okay, so all right, Della. All right, Kevin. The first one I see with does customers count?
Yeah, let's do that
customers. So Darla, Miss Darla.
Miss Darla.
And then are you going to give away one or two?
Let's do two. Okay,
Sandy Alexander.
All right, Miss Darla and Sandy. Nicely done. And just circling back to that bit about whatever you responded in the chat at that moment, just think about that. I know that I asked that question and it wasn't meant to be that, but you, whether you know it or not, instinctually put that down, and that probably has something to do with whatever it is that's a bottleneck for you in your business right now. And usually these bottlenecks are things that can be fixed. They're not things that you're stuck with for the rest of your life. So, if you have these types of questions, I'd encourage you to use whatever support network you have to try to iron it out. Posting in the Facebook group, if you're part of a coaching program, asking your mentors, your coaches, your fellow sharks. I already mentioned the group. That's usually the best place to go. And there are some solutions, right? You're not stuck with that stuff for the rest of your life. If it's procrastination, there are ways to find motivation. There are ways to get more disciplined with the various areas that you need to do, right? Like Tom and I are not disciplined people by nature.
What? Don't go telling people that.
but we found ways to be disciplined, and you can do that too, so don't think you can't get past those things.
I was watching briefly Shark Tank last night for a few minutes, and
love that show.
One of the guys was talking to somebody that was trying to close a deal, and he was like, looked at me, he was like, "Hey, we've all been broke. What are you doing to fix it?" And I was like, "Oh my God, like, can you imagine getting that response from somebody? You're like, oh, like, you don't understand how hard it's been for me." And they're like, "Hey, we were all broke at one point." We've been there. You were talking about motivation. It made me think of two things. One thing, I've been watching The Man in the Arena about Tom Brady. Super fascinating to hear his comments on himself versus what the outside world looks, but really motivating to hear him talk about what it takes to be successful. And then Jason mentioned, I haven't watched this yet, but it's on Netflix. It's called Genius. It's about Kanye West.
Mm-hmm.
But he says pretty amazing. He's like, you can see some old videos of him talking about, like, basically like just speaking what's going to happen into existence. where he's talking about like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And it just sounds like crazy talk.
Mm-hmm. But look at him. Like he did it.
Then he did it. Yeah. Yeah.
Norm
Awesome.
says get up at 6, start with clients at 7:30, do it for 1 to 2 hours, becomes practice perfected. I agree. Routines, if you can get in a routine, like for me, myself, when I said I was getting back into sales to make a more concerted effort to streamline some processes, like that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm doing the same thing as Norm. I'm getting up early every day. I'm following up with leads. I'm getting on the phone with them. I'm sending messages. All those things, and it's repetition. And after you do it 4 or 5 days in a row, that's how you do it, right? Like that's how it's like getting in shape. If you just go on a diet for 2 weeks, chances are after 2 weeks, you're going to stop that diet, right? It really requires a lifestyle change, taking the stairs instead of the elevator, right? You just make that subconscious decision to always do that. Like just eating a little differently. It's not some 30-day quick thing that's going to change forever. It has to be like a lifestyle change or some new form of discipline. And that's a great example. It's like you have that routine every morning. If it's clients, business related, same thing, same exact thing.
Yeah. Norm told me yesterday he hates doing the calls, but he's doing them anyway. Because I was telling him like that. I mean, then that's how you do it. Like, because you're absolutely right. Like, I know for me, going to the gym means going to the gym even when I'm not doing good following my diet. Like, I still need to be going to the gym, even though I don't think it's as effective, right? Like, still got to do it. We went to the gym the other day, and I just wasn't feeling it. We got in the car.
That's
Miranda
fine.
was like, let's go to the gym. And I was like, Miranda, this is some bullshit. I don't need to be going to the gym. I got stuff to do.
Sometimes it just feels that way.
I felt a lot.
Yeah.
Cool. Who's our Cash App winners for the post?
Okay, so our 2 Cash App winners that made comment of all of our shout outs this week are Patty Rakowski and Patrick Giffen. Congratulations. 2 winners there. So we'll be sending you some Cash App money. We'll be reaching out and sending that over right away.
Awesome. Well, congratulations to the winners. Congratulations to all the shout out people. Thanks again for hanging out with us this Friday afternoon. Appreciate you being here. We're going to be here next Friday, same shark time, same shark channel. We'll have more stuff. If you didn't check out the, if you missed the training on Wednesday, head over offlinesharks.com/hidden feature. Watch that. It was a really great training. You'll get a ton of stuff out of it. And we will see you here next week on the Aloha Friday Marketing Jam session. Stay safe, everybody. Practice Aloha, and we'll talk to you later.
You've been listening to the Sharks Live Show, your weekly marketing jam session. Always bringing you the latest strategies and tactics to build your remote business from anywhere in the world. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this stream. You can stay up to date throughout the week with Nick's YouTube videos at nickponte.com/YouTube and Tom's podcast at tomgaddis.com. We'll be back here next Friday for another Sharks Live Show. Until then, aloha.